Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world, and welcome back to the Rebel, Reject, Create podcast. And today, my guest is Simo Routarinne, and he is an interaction designer. And I've already forgotten what the other part was because, goodness me, what does this guy actually do? It's amazing, and we're going to find out all about it. So, Simo, welcome to the show.
I'm glad you remembered the interaction part because the other one was more grandiose. It's culture.
Culture. How did
But
I forget culture?
culture is communication, culture is behavior, culture is interaction. So
There we go.
interaction is more important.
Right. And where do we get interaction from? What drives it? And how do you help people get better at it?
Well, what do you think? I'm answering with the question.
That's perfect.
How do we learn without any teaching? How do we learn to interact? Where do we
By
learn to?
observation, I guess, from parents, from our surroundings.
And trial and error. Just
Right.
try not stuff. Okay. And then, if you think of, a toddler, a baby,
Hmm.
even before the toddler phase, it's the parent baby interaction. We the baby is trying like, if I do this, what does the parent do?
Right.
It's like, oh, you are pointing. So how to, as adults, we usually tend to think that we have to have cognitive stuff. We have to have more knowledge about interaction to be better in interaction, to better communicators. When the answer is as simple as when we were babies, let's try out something different.
Right.
And it's like the workshops I usually do to to produce behavior changes or culture changes are very hands-on. They're experiential, based on experiential learning. And people, first, they become aware of what they usually do in interaction. That's the first step. And then, secondly, they have a safe environment, safe to try out new things.
Right.
And it's as simple as that.
Right. Learning by doing.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to talk a bit about this idea of a safe space. I think it's
Ah,
it's a term we hear a lot at the moment, but when you're starting to talk about doing new things, stepping into the unknown, it does seem to be critical. Why?
it is. It is critical. Psychological safety, psychosocial safety, actually,
Hmm.
because it's the, the term that has been a trendy thing for last couple of 5 years, even though it has been researched for decades. But it's a social construct, psychological safety.
Hmm.
And I'm sometimes wondering why don't we call it psychosocial safety? But anyways, I've been before that buzzword, I've been doing my stuff with applied improvisation for like 30 years. So we were just thinking about talking about how to create an safe and accepting group atmosphere.
Hmm.
And psychological safety is kind of describing the same things and how and safe space, it's to me it's kind of a set of rules.
Right? I'm kind of
Usually it's like
thinking,
what to do and what not to do
right,
to maintain safe space, and that's kind
yeah,
of an agreement.
right.
But what I'm doing with psychosocial safety is I'm doing playful exercises where we all are making mistakes happily and
Right.
creating safety by kind of removing the perfect mask, like the clever mask from our face that we are always trying to, usually in work life, we are trying to kind of appear more clever than we are.
Right. I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of to gently tease people to actually remove those masks and just be authentically crazy or less crazy, but vulnerable,
Right.
um, human.
And having permission to do it wrong or to fail.
Yes, of course, the how we well, one of the crucial things is our relationship with failure, our own failure or other people failing. So there are lots of exercises how to deal with that, like how to actually to make a point that sometimes we can fail really, really happily. And sometimes we are afraid of it. So, and what's the difference? Like when are we happily just screwing things up and laughing about it and when we are not?
Hmm. I would guess that when we're not is when we're very attached to a specific outcome that we would like or expect.
Yeah, usually it's like high expectations are the surest way to disappointments.
Right. Very Buddhist, but true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's yeah, and if you think of like the Kahnemans, like the fast thinking, slow thinking,
Mm.
there are situations where actually intuition is the best way to achieve good results.
Yeah.
Just by a hunch.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really interested in this way of looking at things because obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious to a lot of people, but to be creative, to come up with new ideas, to try out new stuff, you've got to be brave, right? You've got to let go of the way that you thought was a good way to do it and try out a bunch of stuff that quite likely is going to fail until you
Yeah,
find something that works.
yeah. I would say that learning, if you think of like the deepest level of learning, where what kind of like information that you have is kind of shattering to pieces, and
Mm.
then you have to collect the pieces again and make a new order
Yeah.
of that information. That's scary for the mind.
Right.
So you need safety from some source because that's scary. That's not bringing safety. Creativity and deep learning is kind of a ghost ride to your mind. So you need to have the safety from some source. And the
Mm.
fastest source to have safety is actually working in a safe group.
Right.
Because social safety or psychosocial safety or psychological safety is created by our behavior.
Right.
And and the kind of the paradox is that if we want to create safety, we should be mindful of what we do or not don't do when other people speak.
Right.
So that
Yes.
creates safety. If we are, nodding
Yeah.
and showing, audibly or visibly, showing that what you said had an impact on me,
Yep.
then we build safety.
Right. Because we start
Because
to build interaction, a relationship.
yeah, and it's based on acceptance that, hey, I let you have an impact on me. I'm showing it that you actually move me.
Mm.
I'm moved by you.
Right.
And that's kind of building trust and safety and freedom of like, okay, so far so good. It seems like my ideas are accepted. I maybe do some more.
Mm.
So that's when we relax and creativity starts to happen like very naturally.
Right. Yeah. Because if you ask someone a question, they're going to try and answer you, even if they don't really know what the answer is. That's kind of how our brains are wired, right? If
Yeah.
you create the space,
Yeah.
it goes looking.
And also if you think of creativity as an individual thing or a group thing,
Ah,
it's very different.
Yes.
Because if we are approaching creativity in an individual sense, it means that that individual is saying something extraordinary, something very unique.
Hmm.
But if we think of team creativity, you should not do that.
No, needs to be shared.
Yeah, you should say something simple and let the next person say something simple and connect it to what you were saying. And then another person adds something. So it's kind of a building block thing. Like you're
Right.
just constructing something with just blocks. You don't have to bring the whole cathedral with you. You are just
Yeah.
one block is your turn. And I was teaching in Aalto University in Finland, and the course was team creativity. And the students actually, in the first day, they actually got that revelation that, oh my God, team creativity is a different thing than individual creativity.
Yeah.
And this is how it, oh my God, we don't have to be so clever when we are a team. We just have to be mindful of
Don't have to be so clever.
constructing stuff. Yeah.
I love the way you're explaining that because I think for me, this is one of the myths that people struggle with about creativity.
Yeah.
They think to be called creative, you have to have the cathedral.
Yeah, you have to, everybody has to have the cathedral.
Yeah.
And then it's a competition of cathedrals.
Ah, yeah,
So because it's like if is trying to be more clever than others, more creative than others, it's going to become a competition.
yeah,
And competition is not, I mean, then you lose the synergetic advantages
yeah,
of doing something together. Then it's just that we are now judging the cathedrals. Okay, let's take that one. That looks, the most creative.
yeah,
And then we are doing this as a team. We are dismissing everybody else's efforts and knowledge, but the one who brought the most creative cathedral. So it's an individual work. It's not
yeah,
team creativity.
yes. Which explains why a lot of rock bands end up breaking up because one person tends to bring the cathedral.
Oh my God, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, you said it.
So I'm quite interested now in, I mean, I love this concept that when you're talking about culture and designing change, and it is all interactive. It's not performative, it's experiential.
Yeah.
How do you transform that into then the habits that would underpin culture?
Well, awareness, intention, choice.
Okay.
First we have to become aware that what are our habits, what are our cultural traits here, and because in many times, because it's behavior,
Mm,
the culture is behavior. It's not what we have agreed. It's not what
yeah.
we, it's, let's take an example, listening. I've asked from hundreds of organizations I've worked with, uh, do you think that listening each others is a value in your organization? And everybody says yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And then I ask the next question, hand by heart, do you recognize moments in your everyday work life when you are not listening somebody because you are planning what to say next? And everybody is raising their hands. And then I asked, so what's the dissonance? So it's not the values,
No.
it's not the mission, it's not the strategy, it's nothing of those, it's nothing cognitive, it's what we do or don't do, it's behavior.
Right. Well, I think it was a Peter Drucker says that the definition of culture is the way you do what you do every day.
And when nobody's watching, or
Mm,
I mean, kind of like checking what you do,
Yeah, yeah.
or
Your HR appraisal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's that. So first we have to become aware of our cultural habits and traits, behavior.
mm,
What do we do every day?
yeah,
And then we, of course, in that moment, we could check that, okay, we have these kinds of values. Does this behavior convey those values or not? Usually not, I'm sorry to say. Um, and then we are, trying to bridge the gap.
right,
Like, what should we try differently? And then not only talk about that trying to do differently, but experimenting with different behavior.
right.
And it can be done first in an exercise container, in a kind of a having a fiction created safety net that this is not true, this is not actually happening, this is just fiction.
Yeah,
So it's safe to kind of behave in a
right.
way
Yeah,
that
there are
we
no
are not,
consequences.
yeah, there's no consequences. And then gradually move it to everyday experimentations. Like, let's, in the next meeting, I'm going to try to behave differently. And
Mm,
then let's debrief the outcomes after the meeting.
right.
So that's how culture is changed because
Yes,
you change the behavior.
yes. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that sounds a lot to me on a certain level like habit building. Right?
Well, it is. It is.
Yeah,
Mhm. And sometimes habit building to me, it's kind of, and I might be totally wrong, but it feels like an internal process that I'm doing alone. But this is social, that we get instant feedback on how other people react when we actually behave differently.
yeah,
One example, there was this expert organization I was actually coaching. I do one-to-one coaching too, less into history, but more and more now. Uh, and the case was interesting. It was like this was a new hire, an expert with an academic background in a consulting organization, and there were some complaints from the clients that the interaction and communication was really not inviting, not, it's like it was a kind of like too academic,
yeah,
too stiff, and too kind of like, I'm telling how this goes. And so there was not enough dialogue in that. So I remember one exercise that I actually we did, and then I urged him to go to the next meeting and try it. And it was very simple. I was just advising him to do more appreciative tokens, which means accepting body language in
right.
pro terms, like nodding
Yeah,
and uh-huh,
yeah,
like when anybody else spoke, I was just asking him to show that he was listening with
yeah.
those tokens. And he did it. And the next time we met, he was amazed. He said, "Oh my God, first of all, everybody else started to do that too, even for me."
Ah,
That's why mirror cells are for. So
right.
sometimes, sometimes it's enough to change the whole team if one person starts to behave differently.
Viral change. It
Yeah.
literally infects everybody.
Yes.
Interesting.
And especially if you are not changing the way you speak, but you are changing the way how you listen.
Right. Which implies actually the way you act, the way you embody.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Again, I'm kind of taking this back to people who say to me, I want to be more creative. I don't know how to be more creative. And I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm thinking, well,
Be less. Say less, listen more.
Right. Yeah. Observe, listen, take stuff in.
And make obvious choices. That's one of the teachings of Keith Johnstone, may he rest in peace, my improv guru, um, is that trying to be original is kind of a very usual mistake improvisers make. They are trying to out clever themselves. They are,
Yeah.
be more funny or more clever than they actually feel being.
Mm.
So he's saying that the deepest originality, like, is stating something obvious for you.
For, but I like the last two words, for you.
Yeah,
Not like it's obvious for
that's
everybody.
authentically what's my everyday truth.
Right.
If you are revealing that, you are being original. But if you try to think of something original, you are bound to lose your authenticity and you are bound to lose the originality because you are kind of achieving a general area of weird ideas.
Wow. That's a profound insight. I really like that. So by switching that focus, you're immediately aggregating what other people might think or expect and not coming in with something that is from your unique perspective.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's why in improv, it's very usual to prompt people to, hey, use your first idea. Use fast thinking. Just use your intuition. Whatever comes to your mind, it's the right thing. Trust it.
Simo, I think we need to stop talking now because our 20 minutes are up. Anyway, I just think that's a fantastic insight straight away to just end on to say, yeah, do the first thing that comes up for you and then follow that. Brilliant.
Yeah, instead of doing grateful diaries, you could be like my first thing diaries and record your first ideas and see what kind of creative book emerges.
I like it. Simo, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute delight speaking to you. Thank you very much. And for all of you listening, thank you for your attention and your energy in listening or watching this podcast. If you want to know more about what Simo gets up to in the world, all of his links are in the show notes underneath. You can go and check him out over there. And if you're anywhere near Finland in the near future, you might want to go to one of his sessions. So thanks so much for listening to the show. More episodes coming up. So remember, be more creative.